Welcome to the latest episode of Yahoo Finance's Opening Bid podcast. I'm Yahoo Finance Executive Editor Brian Sozzi. Now let's make some money and get a lot smarter. Really special guest here for this episode, Impossible Foods CEO Peter McGinnis. Peter, good to see you in person. I was thinking back the other day.
Good to see you.
I have not seen you since your Chobani days. I think it was 2014, and you gave some upstart person in me a chance to interview inside the cafe. I didn't even know there was a Chobani cafe. I'm like, and then secondarily, I'm like, why is this guy letting me talk to him? So thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, it was good.
You even
good
gave me
time.
some food.
I gave you food. I fed you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
I can feed you today.
Yeah, I know you could. But I want to come out here blasting, and then we'll unpack like
Sure,
the Impossible Foods business. Impossible Foods signed legend Joey Chestnut, the Nathan's hot dog eating champion, the only person I know. I mean, there was Kobayashi, but I mean, nobody cares about him. It really is Joey Chestnut.
Well, it'd be him against Kobayashi in the Netflix.
On Netflix.
Yes.
Why did you sign Joey Chestnut?
For his name, I just love Joey Chestnut.
Joey Chestnut.
And anyone can eat 72 hot dogs in 10 minutes. It's just
I mean, that's an athlete. I mean,
an
forget the
American
Olympics,
hero,
right?
It's hard to believe.
Yeah.
I don't really understand the physics behind it.
I don't want to understand.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it goes back to our strategy at Impossible, which is we're really trying to appeal to meat eaters. If we were a vegan company, we'd be a very small company in a very small market. And if you want to look at an addressable market over $1 trillion, you have to really appeal to meat eaters. Because chicken, beef, pork, animal is like 1.4 trillion globally. If you look at vegan and just plant-based, it's like 8 billion globally. So this only works from a business perspective and importantly a mission perspective if we are bringing meat eaters in. And I think what we've done in the past is insulted them and not invited them, right? And it was us against them, and you need to change your eating habits now. And
You dropped that chicken, or else.
And we were highly judgmental,
yes,
and actually insulting.
Yep.
So Joey is a meat eater, and so but Joey's willing to eat plant-based meats, and he's a flexitarian, which I think is interesting. And I know it's it's kind of a wonky term, but there's like over 130 million flexitarians, quote unquote. In the U.S., it's a big market, and those are people that toggle back and forth. They may have oat milk one day, they may have regular dairy milk the other. They may have some, impossible meat in their taco or their fajita or their chili or bolognese, but then they might eat a steak. That is a huge market, and so basically Joey is toggling back and forth, and we're going to do meatless Monday. We're going to do more meat Mondays with our plant-based instead of meatless Mondays with him. So we're going to do a bunch of things with him moving forward. And he's just a regular American guy too. The other thing is, this whole plant-based movement was Silicon Valley, it was the coasts, it was elitist, it was
the green
academic,
drinks and like
all that.
Removing toxins from your system and freezing your face.
It was the climate burger and all this stuff.
Burger.
And he's just Joey Chestnut and pounding hot dogs. So I think this also just opens the brand up a little bit, makes it a little less serious and righteous, and so we're really excited. I mean, I'm heading to El Paso for the big contest on Thursday, and, at Fort Bliss, which is the second largest, military
That's where Joey's
base.
competing.
Joey's competing.
Because he's not allowed in the Nathan's
He's
hot
not.
dog. What do you think about the controversy? George Shay, I mean, look, I love this quote. I mean, George Shay is just an interesting cat. So he has actually said in the past, the Nathan's famous 4th of July hot dog eating contest is the crucible through which greatness is forged. You spent many years in advertising. I mean, Peter, what's your take on that?
I love it. It's poetic. Mayor Adams said something pretty funny too. He's like, "Would you all stop being weenies?"
But shouldn't he be allowed to compete?
And then he said it's impossible to have it without him.
Fair enough.
So it was funny. There's a lot of people wading into this thing. I think it's kind of silly and pretty stupid, frankly.
Frankly.
I didn't even mean that.
We could go on for days, right?
It's early. But no, I think he was kind of unceremoniously, asked not to compete. Whether or not, I don't know the ins and outs of the contracts and all that kind of stuff, but he's the 16 year in a row.
This guy's the Babe Ruth of eating hot dogs.
16 years in a row.
Yeah.
So you kind of can't have it without him. Anyway, we didn't want to replicate, or he didn't want to replicate anything that was similar. So you can't argue with the military on July 4th. Yep. So we're going to go to Fort Bliss. And what's great, he's going to take their aggregate hot dog score, and he's going to beat it. So it'll be kind of fun, right?
He's shooting like
if they
100?
each eat 5, I think there's 4 or 5, right? And then he's got to beat it, which is really nice. We're going to donate $1,000 per hot dog, up to $100,000 going to Operation Homefront. We have a long-standing relationship with Operation Homefront, which is really giving money and support to vets.
Doesn't this interaction, I guess, with Major League Eating and Impossible, isn't this just the classic, it's still big meat and it's plant-based food trying to make an inroads into their ground, and they're just going to continue to be just resistant to any change. I mean, Joey Chestnut should be in this thing. I mean, come on. I mean,
he should be.
Give me a break.
He should be in it. And to that end, by the way, in Fort Bliss, he's going to be eating regular hot dogs. We're going to be non-judgmental. We're going to be there to support him. He'll do things with us, but he'll eat regular meat too. And I think that's the point, right? We're not going to, if he eats a regular hot dog, we're not going to drop him. And also he has to train. He's been training on regular hot dogs. Our hot dogs have 2.5 times the protein and a lot of fiber. So he needs to train on our hot dogs.
Have you seen him train before? What is that even like? How do you train for eating 72 hot dogs?
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But ours is, again, with 2.5 times the protein, it's going to fill you up much faster, right? And with fiber, it should be easier for him.
Let me ask you this. Is what you're selling, is it a hot dog? Is it okay to still call it a hot dog? Or is it something else?
I mean, look, you call oat milk,
yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't come from a cow. I think you have to, if you don't call it a hot dog, what is it? I think you have to ground it for consumers to understand. It's a plant-based hot dog. I mean, it has to have plant-based in front of it. Mm-hmm. And it's great. I mean, you should try one. It's really good. And we launched them a couple months ago. But back to your question about Nathan's, look, I think we are the competition in a way, albeit small. Mm. So the meat industry has been kind of tough on us. They've thrown out things like fake, faux, processed, and to try to, tamp us down a little bit. And, all is fair, in war. But in the end of the day, I also don't think we did ourselves any favors because we launched this against them, right? And said death to the cattle industry and all this crazy stuff.
Is there a way to work with them?
I think so. I go back to politics. I mean, you have to reach across the aisle. I've had meetings with large meat companies. Maybe we can do some co-innovation together.
They let you in the building.
Yeah, I'm a nice guy.
You are a nice guy.
But the point is, I don't think anybody wins going against one another, right? They want to be an alternative protein space as well, because they want to give people options. What I want to do is just we're making food for people that like to eat, that just want better, different options. We're not going to ram anything down anyone's throat or be righteous or judgmental. And the meat industry wants to get into alternative protein. They do. It's in all of their mission statements. So maybe we could help them do that. Mm-hmm. And maybe we could work together as the food system evolves. It's perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying we're doing it tomorrow, but I'm completely open to it.
What are these, and this is something I talked to your competitor about, Beyond Meat founder Ethan Brown. He has noted a lot of the attacks too on the plant-based meat industry. Where are these exactly coming from? And are they still continuing? And is it weighing on sales for the industry at large?
Yeah, it is weighing on sales. I think, and for me to sit there and tell you, oh, it's no big deal when the meat industry, they have effective lobbying, they have cash, and they're highly coordinated. And so when they say things like plant-based meat's fake, faux, and processed, and they say it on a megaphone, and they say it consistently, it sinks in, right? And what we've done? Nothing. We're fragmented. There's over 200 plant-based meat companies in America, and most are small, most are struggling financially. And so rather than us come together as an industry and have a united, coherent, cogent narrative, we're all saying different things. So we have not refuted the process claim. So that's kind of a shame on us, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we're made from plants, we have more protein, we have zero cholesterol, we're loaded with iron, we have fiber. And so we're nutrient-dense food that tastes good. Now, why don't we just say that in a very non-defensive way instead of being a victim? Well, the meat industry's saying bad things about us. I mean, of course, listen, we're a competitor. So let's compete instead of complain.
Yeah. What's the... I see what you're seeing. So I walk into Whole Foods, did so recently. I look down the plant-based meat. There's a lot of brands that I've never heard of. What's the end game here? Where do these brands go? Because I don't exactly see them expanding into other categories, maybe because they don't have the resources like you and Beyond. But what happens to them?
Look, I think there will be a consolidation. It's a relatively small market. We're talking 2 to 3 billion in the U.S., and we're talking over 200 plant-based companies. So there'll be consolidation. Look, a lot of these companies, it's hard to scale a food company, you know that. It's hard to raise capital right now, you know that. It's especially hard to do that if you have low gross margins and the category is not where it needs to be, right? So investors are kind of cautious right now. So hard to scale, hard to raise money. And the other thing about all of these different brands, they have varying degrees of quality and taste. So a lot of people are coming in
I bought an unnamed competitor. I throw it on the grill. It breaks apart in pieces. I had no dinner. I ended up ordering pasta.
And that's shame on us,
with
right?
chicken on it. Sorry, dude.
That's shame on us, right?
The reality.
Because you don't get a second.
This wasn't
chance
your brand, just to be clear.
You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And I'm biased, but we have the best food, and we spend a lot of time on the food, right? And it's delicious first. I think the other thing is, this was launched as a climate burger or a green burger, which none of sound appetizing to me.
Yeah.
In the end of the day, and we're tech.
Eat this burger and prevent a hurricane. Yes.
No, but also we're a tech company. All this weird stuff, right? We're a food company.
So you're actually pushing back on that. I mean, you're
Well,
not a
food
tech
company.
You're not a tech company.
Well, you know what? I split the difference. I said we're a tech-enabled food company, so we can innovate like tech, but we're going to operate like food. Meaning, we have to make delicious food that's nutritious. We have to make it on time and in full, and get it to anywhere from Walmart to Stop and Shop on time.
Big Stop and Shop guy here.
Yeah,
I love
great.
Stop and Shop.
Stop and Shop.
Yeah.
So that's a different thing. We need Salesforce that actually have called on food companies before. Little things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So look, I think the food, and I have pushed back hard on that. If the food is not delicious, we're done. Mm-hmm. You're asking someone to change a habit that has been going on for hundreds of years. Mm-hmm. It better not be compromised food. Mm-hmm. It better be delicious, right? And then you can talk about nutrition. And then if they have the appetite, pun intended for it, you can talk about climate and water and trees and GHG.
Mm-hmm. Hang with me, Peter. We're going to go off for a quick break. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Having a tasty conversation with Impossible Foods CEO Peter McGinnis. Come on, you're not surprised. You follow me on LinkedIn. I got these things all day, Peter. So help me understand this one. So I went online. Walmart is selling 6 patties, Impossible, 24 ounces, frozen, $13.48. Beyond, 8 patties, frozen, $17. 8 patties of beef, $14 at Walmart. Why does that price gap still exist? Take us through, I guess, the manufacturing process and the development of what you do, because I imagine that's why it still costs more.
Yeah, listen, I think I just look at overall price per pound. Mm-hmm. And if you go to IRI and Nielsen, the animal industry's gone up about 22% in price in the last couple of years. Their input costs are high, they've had famine and they've had droughts and they've culled their herds, and you followed all of that. Mm-hmm. And it's an intensely labor-intensive factors and things like that. We've gone down 20%. We need to go down more. We've gone down 20. So the gap between us and animals is the tightest it's ever been. We are actually less expensive than grass-fed organic animal beef, but we are more expensive than your standard, what I would call a ground chuck in the well with the cellophane on it. And we have to get to that. So I think we were above grass-fed organic. We're now below. Now we have to get at parity to that just standard chuck if you really want to open it up to America. So ideally, we want it to taste as good. Our beef patties are 50-50 in taste tests against the animal product. Our chicken products are 70-30 against the animal. I actually prefer our chicken products. So you got to get a parity taste and you got to get the parity price. That's my 2 cents on that.
What are you working on to make it more delicious, I guess?
I mean, we just launched our beef 3.0. We're going to launch our beef 4.0 because you can, ingredients have changed in 7 or 8 years.
Sure.
So through ingredients and flavors, and you can get the taste, texture, flavor better and better. But the point is, we weren't really focused on that. We wanted to come out with a new shiny object innovation. So we're not coming. We have 50 SKUs.
Do you have bacon?
We don't have bacon.
I heard fish. Company Plant-Based Food was going to start making fish. I mean, those days.
When I first started Impossible, they were looking at tuna chunks and salmon bites, and I was like, "How about we just make the burger better?"
Excuse me, I got to go off to the bathroom.
I was chief boring officer for a while. I was like, "No more new SKUs."
We don't want tuna chunks.
Listen, in the end of the day, 50 SKUs: chicken, beef, pork, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and Impossible.
Fine.
We just need to make them better and get them distributed and make people aware of it. We also have very low awareness. Yep. So we're in the middle of our biggest campaign ever, and plant-based biggest campaign ever. Mm-hmm. So we've been advertising now for about a month and a half. We have another few weeks to go. Huge campaign. We're talking almost $20 million campaign, which is massive for plant-based, to increase awareness. There's no awareness of
So that's a missing
either.
ingredient here. I think there's this view, at least on the street, of course you're a private company, but there's this view with your competitor, let's say Beyond, they need to ramp up manufacturing to stop losing money. But you don't do that if you can't get into more outlets, right?
Correct.
Right, correct.
Yeah, because, listen, I think this is a demand game. Because supply, I mean, we co-man most of our food. We have a small factory in Oakland, so we make about 20% of our food. We co-man 80. Now, co-mans are tough. They take tolling fees, hurts margins. But in the end of the day, we're not in a position to plunk down $400 million in buying a factory and having it take 2 to 3 years and all that. So co-mans are fine. The key is demand. So the more demand we have, the better pricing we have from the co-man. This is all a demand game. Certainly there's ways to make the product better and make it less expensive, right? Because it is expensive. And it takes a lot of science to make a plant-based beef product taste like an animal product. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
But there's ways there's gold in them, there are hills, as they say. Up and down the supply chain, there's ways to make it more efficient. The best lever is demand. Demand takes care of everything, right? You get operating leverage,
Sure.
you get efficiency, and it flows right through to the bottom line. We don't have the demand. The category does not have the demand. So if I look at the category, and this is another thing we all just need to admit, units are down 15 to 20% year over year. People in America are eating less.
Is that
plant-based
because of inflation? They're buying regular beef and they're not willing to give you guys a try?
No, it's a combination of not enough distribution, not enough awareness, not enough understanding of what the product is. And then some people coming in and having a bad experience, right, with some random plant-based company. So there's a lot of things. It's a combination of the beef industry calling us processed and people believing it. There's a confluence of reasons why. There could be price in some, there could be availability, there could be taste. There's a lot of reasons why. And also some of it is a correction, Brian. This got very inflated, right, when it first came out. It was a novelty. Now it's kind of coming back down. And that's okay to admit too. So some of it is just a correction. If the stock market goes to 40 and it goes down to 38, is that a
You're still doing okay.
Is that a recession,
Yeah,
or is it just
doing
coming
right.
back down to earth a little bit, right?
Do you bristle when people say fake meat?
I don't like it. I would rather have, and I don't like alternative, meat or alternative protein either. I think, meat made from plants, we haven't come up with great language, by the way. I think we should call it cholesterol-free meat.
Yeah.
We haven't come up with, plant-based
Now
meat.
you're dipping back into your advertising roots here, sir.
Well,
That's pretty good.
plant-based meat. I've
Yeah.
talked to people about. They're like,
Does it come from my lawn? Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Yeah.
So we've actually gone out of our way to make this stuff sound complicated and weird. So we have to do a better job with language too, and positioning and packaging. And we just did a whole rebrand, and we went to red. I don't know if you've noticed, from green. We had toothpaste green packaging.
Oh, the red hat. Yeah.
Red.
Yeah.
We went red because red's meat, duh. And we have heme. We have 400 patents on our heme, which makes ours really red, meat-like, right? Most of our competitors use beet juice, and it looks pink. Ours looks very deep red. And heme is hemoglobin from plants. Comes from roots of plants. Hollywood uses fake blood. It's loaded with iron. So we have a patent on that, and that's how we make our red meat red. And so we leaned into red packaging. We redid all of the photography, so it's like delicious, you eat with your eyes.
Sure.
And we redid all the claims around 0 cholesterol and 50% less saturated fat and 7 grams of fiber.
These are killer messages. Now, why, when I go to a fast food company, I don't see any of this? There's that view for me. And then secondarily, why have the launches seem to slow? So I walk into McDonald's, first of all, I really don't see I see no plant-based food. I mean, I know Beyond has made some inroads. I'm guessing you're still with Burger King?
Yes.
Okay. But I don't hear any of these messages. I go to the drive-thru, I see this, impossible, don't know what it means for me or why I should try this over at, let's say, a Whopper.
Yeah. Listen, we're in White Castle, 5 years now. I love White Castle.
White Castle's good.
It's good stuff.
It's good stuff, man.
And we're in Burger King, close to 5 years now, all Burger Kings, and we're in Starbucks. Well, almost 16,000 Starbucks. And it's one of their best performing food items, the Impossible Sausage Sandwich. It's not a vegan sandwich, it has egg on it, cheese.
Yeah.
And so we have long-standing, big what I would call food service relationships. I just rattled off 3, and we're system-wide on all of them. It's hard for them on the menu board to get across this whole value proposition. And one of the problems is it's a complicated value proposition. Mm-hmm. So it used to be, eat this and save water, trees, and avoid GHG. It's like, huh? Mm-hmm. Like X amount of millions of gallons of water.
I just want it to taste good.
We're flipping it.
Yeah.
It's good for you and it tastes good. It tastes good, it's good for you. And then further down the funnel, if you're super interested, we can talk about all of the mission-oriented stuff. So we just flipped it. I know this stands up against the animal. I personally give it about 1,000 taste tests, and every time I give it to somebody, like, it tastes a lot better than I thought. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a backhanded compliment,
yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not a bad thing. Mm-hmm. It tastes a lot better than I thought. So a lot of this is trial. If I can get people to try it, we have 50% repeat, 1 in 2.
That's good.
So I stand behind our food. And so in the end of the day, and that's why it's working at those outlets we just talked about, Burger King and White Castle and Starbucks. But we got to do more of it, and we got to lead with taste. It's food, and I think that is like it sounds so obvious, but the industry historically hasn't done that,
yeah,
and resists that a little bit. And we will be all better. The whole category will be better if we lead with taste.
I went back to our past several conversations with you, all remote, and I realized we asked you every single time about an IPO. But we didn't ask you, and I want to put, here, there's other things that can happen here with Impossible. Let's say a liquidity event. So there's IPO, sale, capital raise. What are you leaning towards internally, and what is the timeline?
I like them all.
You like them all?
Actually. Listen, without getting into a rabbit hole here or disclosing confidential information, we're lucky enough to be pretty well capitalized at the moment. We're debt-free, and we have cash. And part of that was that, when I got there, we had to go through a couple painful restructures and some RIFs and bring cost in line with revenue. It was, just the sustainable business stuff.
Yeah.
And so we have cash for a few years. So we don't need to do anything right now. I mean, we're spending $20 million in advertising.
Are you making money? I mean, is the company profitable?
Not yet, but we're close.
Sure.
And so, we continue to improve our gross margin. So I feel really good about our gross margin profile. I feel really good about our balance sheet, and I feel really good about our cash position. So we don't need to do anything right now, which is kind of a luxury. It's not the best time to, have to worry about that kind of stuff. So when I look at it, I think I can make a case for strategic, because you can tap into someone else's infrastructure, use factories.
So you sell,
trucking.
Impossible sells to a larger company.
It's one option,
Gotcha.
Right? And that could get Impossible in more places and actually achieve the mission faster. And, investors could get a good return, and employees could get a good return on their equity. We could do a sizable capital raise with our balance sheet and our margin profile, and we're the only one growing.
Yeah.
So we actually have a sales story and a growth story and a brand story. Or we could IPO it and do a sizable IPO. I like them all, actually. And luckily enough, we haven't decided because we don't have to right now.
Sure.
But we could talk about it, in a year or two from now in more detail. But right now, it's do the fundamentals better, get distribution, build awareness, make the food better. I know it sounds basic and boring, but it works. It's a playbook that works.
All right. Fair enough. Good luck with Joey Chestnut, sir. Impossible Foods CEO Peter McGinnis, always good to see you. Thanks for stopping down in person. And a year from now, when you make that decision, come back to Opening Bid first. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right. That's
good
it.
To see you, pal.
Good to see you. That's it for the latest episode of Yahoo Finance's Opening Bid.